Before we dive into today's intense story, a quick reminder. Over 90% of our viewers watch our videos but aren't subscribed. If you enjoy content like this, take a second to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. And if you find this story gripping, don't forget to like the video. It really helps us out.
My name is Clara. I'm 39 years old and I've been married to Thomas for almost 15 years. From the outside, we look like a stable couple. 2 kids, a house in the suburbs, decent jobs, weekend family dinners, and summer vacations by the lake. I used to believe that stability was more valuable than passion, that predictability was a sign of a successful marriage. But what I didn't understand back then was that comfort can be a very dangerous illusion. Thomas and I met in college. He was confident, ambitious, and charming in that quiet way that doesn't draw too much attention but leaves a lasting impression. I was drawn to his seriousness, his plan for the future, and the fact that he never played games. We moved in together a year after graduation and got married shortly after that. Life unfolded in neat chapters. Our first apartment, his promotion, the birth of our daughter Emma, then our son Liam. I quit my job as a marketing analyst to raise the kids, and even when I returned to part-time work later, I always prioritized our home and his needs. Looking back, that was my first mistake. For years, I played the role of the perfect wife. I took care of the house, the kids, the groceries, and his parents. I hosted dinners for his colleagues, smiled through their boring conversations, and tried to be supportive even when he worked late for the 3rd week in a row. I thought that's what love was, devotion without expectations. But slowly, I began to feel invisible. It started subtly. He stopped asking about my day. He began working later and later. Our conversations became transactional. Did you pay the electricity bill? Liam has a dentist appointment at 3. Don't forget the parent-teacher meeting. We slept in the same bed but might as well have been in different worlds. Still, I didn't question it. I told myself that all long marriages go through dull phases. I ignored the signs. The way he guarded his phone, the sudden gym membership, the cologne he never used to wear. I dismissed my own instincts because I didn't want to believe it. After all, Thomas wasn't the kind of man who would cheat until he did. I found out on a Tuesday afternoon, the kind that begins uneventfully. I was doing laundry when his iPad pinged with a message. I usually respected his privacy, but something about the sound made me pause. The message preview said, "Last night was unforgettable." My stomach turned. My hands trembled as I unlocked the device. There were dozens of messages going back months. Pictures, compliments, plans to meet. Even little inside jokes that I recognized as once being ours. Her name was Amelia. She worked with him, new in his department, fresh out of graduate school. She was 26. I sat there for hours reading every single word. I felt like I was floating above myself, watching someone else's life fall apart. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just felt cold. Number. Like the part of me that trusted, loved, and admired him had simply died. That night, I made dinner like usual. The kids laughed about something silly. Thomas walked in like nothing was wrong. He kissed me on the cheek and said he was starving. I looked at him and realized how much I'd stopped seeing him clearly over the years. I had filled in the gaps of who he really was with who I wanted him to be. He didn't notice my silence, not even when I overcooked the chicken, which I never do, not even when I forgot to add salt. He didn't look me in the eyes once. That's when I knew he was still lying. He probably thought he was protecting me, that I couldn't handle the truth. But he had no idea who I really was. For a few days, I pretended everything was normal. I needed time, not to forgive him, but to plan. Revenge doesn't always have to be loud or violent. Sometimes the most powerful revenge is the one that looks like grace, from the outside, but burns like justice on the inside. I started gathering everything I could, screenshots, emails, dates, and locations. I even pretended to be friendly with him again, asking about his day, encouraging him to talk, subtly steering the conversations to extract more information. I wasn't doing it for closure. I was building a case, a quiet, steady case. He had always prided himself on being careful. But men like Thomas forget one crucial detail. Wives notice everything. I didn't want to expose him publicly. That would humiliate the kids, hurt his parents, and make things messy. No, I wanted him to crumble slowly. I wanted to take away everything he took for granted. I met with a lawyer, quietly, professionally. I learned what I was entitled to, what documentation I needed, what mistakes not to make. Then I started preparing. At home, I smiled. I cooked. I went on family walks. I even planned a weekend getaway just for us. His birthday was coming up. He was flattered, surprised. He called me his Clara again. He had no idea he was walking straight into the calm before the storm. The night before the trip, he sent a heart emoji back. I felt nothing. We drove to the countryside to a cozy cabin with a view of the lake. He thought we were rekindling our marriage. I was watching the final act of a man who believed he got away with betrayal. That night, as we sat by the fireplace, he opened a bottle of wine and started talking about the early years of our marriage. He said he missed that version of us. He even apologized for being distant lately. I asked him what he thought distant meant. He said he'd been overwhelmed with work and hadn't prioritized me the way he should have. A lie, wrapped in sentiment. I leaned in, touched his hand gently, and told him I knew. Everything. I told him about the messages, the meetings, the lies. I told him I'd read every word, every photo, every promise he made to another woman while sharing a home with me. He froze. Then he denied it. He said I was reading too much into it, that it didn't mean anything, that he was confused. I smiled, and then I handed him the neatly printed folder with copies of everything. His face turned white. He asked if I wanted a divorce. I told him no, not yet, and that scared him more than anything. Thomas sat in stunned silence that night. The folder of printed messages lay between us on the cabin table, like a loaded gun. The flames in the fireplace crackled gently, but neither of us moved. I watched his jaw twitch, his fingers tremble slightly. For the first time in years, he was speechless. He asked again if I wanted a divorce. I shook my head slowly. No, Thomas, not yet. I'm not going to make this easy for you. He blinked. What do you mean? I mean, I said calmly, you're going to feel what I felt. You're going to lose things. Not all at once, but little by little. You're going to live with the silence you created, and when you finally understand the damage, it'll be too late to fix it. He tried to apologize, to shift blame, even dared to claim that Amelia didn't mean anything. I let him talk, let him squirm. Then I got up, took my glass of wine, and walked out to the porch to look at the stars. The next morning, we drove home in silence. No music, no conversation, just the tension of unspoken truths thick in the air. I caught him glancing at me from time to time as if trying to read my thoughts, but I had learned to guard them well. Once we got home, I began my plan. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I smiled. That's what confused him the most. I still woke up early and made breakfast. I still attended parent-teacher meetings. I still reminded him about dentist appointments and laundry schedules. But emotionally, I was gone. My smiles were hollow, my laughs calculated. And he began to unravel. I started reclaiming my time. I rejoined my old book club, then enrolled in a creative writing class at the community center. I got a gym membership, not for him, but for me. I changed my wardrobe, got a new haircut, and began to remember the version of me I had buried beneath the title of wife and mother. It didn't take long for Thomas to notice. "You look different," he said one morning as I got ready. I nodded. "I feel different." He paused. "Is this about what happened?" I gave him a thin smile. "What do you think?" He began trying harder. He started coming home early, cooking dinner, planning spontaneous date nights. He thought effort could erase betrayal. But he didn't realize that I wasn't punishing him with distance. I was just done needing his approval. Amelia, for her part, had disappeared. Whether he ended it or she walked away, I never cared enough to find out. What mattered was what came next. I reached out to an old friend of mine, Melissa, who ran a quiet but highly connected HR firm. I asked if she could discreetly look into Amelia's role at Thomas's company. Melissa owed me a favor. Within a week, she confirmed my suspicion. Amelia had been given a quiet transfer to another department, and rumors about her special relationship with Thomas had started circulating among the staff. He was losing respect at work, and it showed. He came home irritated, snapped at the kids, then apologized. I watched silently, offering no comfort. I was no longer his safe place. Then I went one step further. Thomas always prided himself on his annual charity gala. He was on the board, and every year he gave an emotional speech about family values and community. This year, I volunteered to help organize it. No one questioned it. They all saw us as the perfect couple. I took on a leadership role and made sure to be present at every planning meeting. I wore elegant dresses. I spoke with grace. I made people laugh. Men noticed me again, and I let Thomas see it. I was never inappropriate. I didn't flirt, but I was magnetic in a way that he hadn't seen in years. And then came the night of the gala. I arrived separately, wearing a sleek navy dress he'd never seen before. When I walked in, conversations paused. I didn't look like a scorned wife. I looked like a woman in control. Thomas tried to cling to me that evening, introducing me to everyone, holding my hand a little too tightly. I played along in public, smiling and nodding, but the moment we were alone, I let go of his hand. "You don't get to parade me around like a trophy," I whispered. He looked wounded. "I'm trying to make things right." "You're trying to fix your image," I corrected, "not your soul." After the gala, I made my second move. I sat him down and told him I wanted a separation. Not a divorce, yet a separation. He begged me to reconsider, said we could work through it in therapy. I agreed, but the therapy wasn't for us. It was for documentation, proof that I had made efforts, that I had tried to salvage what he destroyed. I knew the legal process. I was building a fortress. While he clung to hope, I quietly moved half of our savings into a separate account under my name. I sold some jewelry and old stocks my parents had gifted me. I made sure I had financial independence. I started therapy on my own too, not to save the marriage, but to reclaim myself. I told my therapist everything, not just about the affair, but the years of emotional neglect, the isolation, the way I had become invisible in my own home. For the first time, I felt seen. The kids, thankfully, didn't know the details. I kept their world intact. But they noticed the change. Emma, our daughter, said to me one night, "You smile more now, Mom. You seem stronger." And I felt that strength in my bones. One evening, Thomas came to me with tears in his eyes. "I miss you, Clara. I know I messed up, but I can't lose you. I'll do anything." I looked at him for a long time. "Then start by being honest with yourself. You didn't just cheat on me. You killed the version of me who believed in you. That version is gone, and now you have to live with what's left." He didn't respond. He just sat there, tears sliding silently down his face. I got up, walked away, and closed the door behind me. That night, I slept peacefully for the first time in months. The weeks after the separation were strange at first. The house felt quieter, but not in a sad way, more like the quiet that comes after a storm, when you can finally breathe again. Thomas moved into a small rental nearby so he could stay close to the kids. He came over on weekends to take them out, always trying to show me that he was changing. He brought flowers, fixed things around the house, even asked me to dinner a few times. But I never said yes. He didn't understand that what I lost couldn't be brought back with kindness. Trust doesn't regenerate. Once it's broken, something in you shifts forever. You build new walls not out of anger, but for survival. I had changed. Not in a bitter way, but in a way that gave me back control. I began freelance consulting for marketing firms and even got invited to speak at a women's leadership event. I reconnected with old friends, started hiking again, and finally went on that trip to Italy I had postponed for years. I found myself staring at the Roman ruins, thinking, things fall apart, but they don't vanish. They transform. While I evolved, Thomas struggled. His performance at work declined. A few months later, I heard from a mutual acquaintance that he had been asked to step down from the board of directors. Apparently, gossip about his affair had spread further than he realized. His perfect reputation damaged. His work relationships strained. His influence diminished. And still, I said nothing. I didn't gloat. I didn't interfere. I simply let consequence run its course. But the final act of my revenge wasn't about watching him fall. It was about setting myself free. I filed for divorce 6 months after our separation. By then, I had gathered everything I needed: records of our joint assets, proof of his infidelity, documentation of our therapy sessions, and financial statements showing my efforts to stay independent. My lawyer was meticulous and respectful. We filed the papers quietly, and I served them to Thomas on a Tuesday morning when he came to drop off Liam. He looked at the envelope in his hands like it was a foreign object. "So that's it?" he said. "You're really doing this?" "I already did," I replied. "You just didn't see it happening." He tried to stall. He asked if we could go through mediation. I said no. I was done giving him chances to rewrite the narrative. I wanted what was fair, nothing more, nothing less. During the court proceedings, he tried to appear remorseful, responsible. But the paper trail was against him. He knew it. And somewhere deep down, I think he also knew he didn't deserve to win this time. The divorce was finalized in the spring. I got the house, primary custody of the kids, a fair share of the savings. I didn't ask for spousal support. I didn't need it. That, I think, hurt him more than anything. He expected me to cling, to struggle, to make him feel needed. But I didn't. A week after the papers were signed, I took the kids to the beach for the weekend. Just me and them. We built sandcastles, ate too much ice cream, and fell asleep to the sound of the waves. Emma curled up beside me and whispered, "I like this version of us." I kissed her forehead. "Me too, sweetheart." When we got home, I sat on the porch alone that evening watching the sunset. It felt like closure, not the dramatic kind with shouting or tears, but the soft, quiet kind that seeps into your bones and tells you it's over, that you survived. Thomas still calls sometimes. He asks about the kids, makes small talk. Occasionally he tries to talk about us, about regrets, about memories. I keep the conversations brief. I've forgiven him in my heart, not for his sake, but for mine. Because anger is heavy, and I've learned to travel light. I never told the kids the full story. Maybe one day when they're old enough, I'll explain why I chose to walk away. But for now, I show them through action, through the way I live, love, and stand tall, that dignity matters more than staying for the sake of appearances. Sometimes people ask me if I'd ever consider dating again. Maybe, someday. But I'm not in a hurry. I spent so long losing myself in someone else's life that I'm still discovering who I really am. And the truth is, I like this journey. I like the woman I've become. My revenge wasn't about destroying Thomas. It was about rebuilding Clara. And I did, brick by brick, in silence, with strength. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't loud or cruel. It's living so well that the person who broke you has to watch you thrive without them. And that's exactly what I'm doing.